the serious one.
Yes.
And what I'll say about that is you have to know your role. And me, like, I could try to like be the like the officer candidate kind of guy that comes in and is like, I'm gonna lead these kids to, but that's just not me. I'm a
I
comedian.
would forewarn you against that
Oh
because
yeah,
we had people who tried to
to
do
do
that in
stuff. Yeah.
mind, and just like it does not
Oh
go
yeah, they
over
get booed.
well.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
I know. So I'm a jokester. I'm a comedian. So I like try to keep things light. I try to take people's minds off of things. So one time we came back from like doing something. It was like a long march or something. Maybe it's like after the forge or not after the forge. After like the hammer, like the first uh, field excursion, the overnight field excursion. And we come back and the bay's pretty trash. Like there's sandbags, wet sandbags strung out in the middle of the bay. Like, and for the most part, it's really not trash that bad. But to these young kids, like this is the worst. They're like, why would they do this to us? You know, like this is crazy. Like excuse me, we're already all tired. We just want to go put our stuff in our locker and go to bed. You know, but it's like, and I just remember listening to like all these kids complaining. I just go, guys, I was in a fraternity. You know, it's like, and they're like, what does this have to do with anything? But I'm like, when I was in my fraternity, I had to clean like, of course you always go overboard. It's like,
Exaggerate.
yeah. So I was
Exaggerate.
like, we had to clean a 3-story mansion, and all these basically beer drinking frat boys destroyed the house, and we had to clean the whole thing up. Why? Because a bunch of drunk guys said I had to. And I was like, and I only had a pledge class of like, well, we had like we had 4, but we had like 5 guys, and I was like, I think I was like, we had 5 guys in my pledge class. I had to clean this 3-story mansion. It took us like 6 hours to do it in one night. And like they're like, wow, really? And I was like, and this is not that bad. Like we are all working together. There's like 49 of us in this bay. We can all help, use our hands if we have to, because we don't have enough cleaning utilities for all of us to use, or utensils.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, and then after we get it presentable, then we can have fire guard polish this turd, why we go to bed. And like that changed the dynamic because everyone's like, oh wow, like maybe it's not that bad. Listen to Watson's story. It's like exactly. And then the conversation moved to a direction I wasn't expecting to. They were talking about secret societies and stuff. So while we're cleaning, we're talking about secret societies, and organizations and stuff like that, instead of me having to prep them and be like, guys, I had it way worse in my fraternity, which really I didn't, but I was trying
Yeah.
to like make it clear that it could be worse.
100%.
And that was the role I filled. I was like, guys, nothing's as bad as it seems, and that was what I did to try to keep morale up. And I did that multiple times. Like another time I did something similar was we had one drill sergeant, and kind of like you, like we didn't get along a whole lot, or she was the one that everyone just kind of disliked. And I remember she said something along like this, bet you guys missed your sodies and your pizza. And I was like, and I just sat there and quiet for a second. I was like, sure do miss sodies, drill sergeant. She was like, shut the F up, and dropped me right there. And then I was in the friendliness. But one time, again, that same drill sergeant, we were outside, and it was cold that morning, and we all had our gloves on, except of course one person forgot their gloves. So we're just like, just see if we can get away with it, and of course we don't get to get away because she sees one person doesn't have their gloves, so we all got to take gloves off. So then she drops us, and she goes, on my command, when I say down, you say it's too dang, and it's really effing, and then on up you say cold. So it's like, so down it's like it's really effing cold.
Yeah.
It's really effing cold, And then she was like, so we're all doing these push-ups, and I was like, it's really effing cold. And finally she goes, halfway down, and I go, it's kinda. But that was just me by myself, and she goes, everybody else get up, Watson stay down. And I was just like, that was like what I would do to like raise morale, like, so everybody else is up and I'm still down here in the half front leaning rest position, and then she'd be like halfway up, and then I go up, and I'd be like cold, and then she go halfway down again. I say it's kinda, So I just try to keep morale up by being a practical jokester kind of thing. Of course I got punished for it.
Yeah.
But that was, like I said, again, that's how I kind of fit into my dynamic with the platoon and the group. So might as well just have fun while we're there, and that's what I try to do. I tried to just like, hey guys, it's gonna suck, so we might as well try to make it fun. So
true.
That's.
And that person in the group does help with the morale.
It does, yeah. And there are times you got to learn when to be quiet, but for the most part, at basic training, that was never really an issue. I knew when to be quiet and when to try to raise morale. So
100%.
again, it's fun. It's fun doing stuff like that and being that guy for people. So I would say a couple of Ram stories, a couple of Drill Sergeant Ramirez stories that are good is I kind of continued on the hitchhiking legacy that you did.
Yep.
So yeah, if you see Chad's video about this, he one time asked to hitchhike when Drill Sergeant Ramirez was driving the truck because he was in a boot and he's watching, make sure they're in fallouts, and Chad was like, give me a ride, or he didn't say it, but he just gave him the hitchhiker's thumb, like, hey, pick me up, drive me, and the drill sergeant just flipped him off, you know, and and that's what I did every single time we stepped off and Drill Sergeant Ramirez was driving the vehicle. I did that every single time I hitchhiked him, and he flipped me off every single time.
Yep.
Fun, is funny, and Ram was funny, like he it got to the point where I would just go up to him and I would just say good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to him. And you have to go to at ease. So, attention and then at ease before you address a drill sergeant. So I just go up to him, I'd go to attention, then at ease, and I'd be like, drill sergeant. And he'd be like, what? And I'd just be like, good morning, drill sergeant. And he would just shake his head and continue on because I'd stop him every time I saw him. Didn't matter what it was. And eventually it got to the point where he was kind of having like a semi-serious conversation because we actually didn't get to go to church one Sunday because the buses just never showed up to pick us up. So a lot of people were really bummed out. So I could tell like this conversation's coming to a close, So everybody's asking him questions like, drill sergeant, what about this and that? And it's all church related. And then I'm like, okay, we're done. Like I can tell that was the last question. So I just go, drill sergeant. And he just looks at me and I go, he goes, what? And I go, good evening, drill sergeant. And he just goes, if you ever talk to me again, you're going to have to do 25 push-ups to speak to me. And I did that happily every time, anywhere, wherever he was. Like, I'd be like, drill sergeant. He'd be like, are you sure you want to do this? And I'd be like, good morning, drill sergeant. And he'd be like, drop. And then at night, before we go to bed every night, if he was the one coming in to like make sure they're closing up, like we'd always say, good night, drill sergeant. Like you'd be at the towing the line, standing around the kill zone in the bay.
Yep.
And we're all towing the line, and he'd come in and be like, all right, good night, trainees. And we'd leave and like, good night, drill sergeant, we love you. And I would say that. I'd say, good night, drill sergeant, I love you. And then he would walk out and the door would close. And then I would walk to my locker, and my locker is like right next to the door. So like that door would always pop right back open right as I got to my locker, and he'd just look in and he'd just do this. He'd be like, indicating I need to do 25 more push-ups before I went to bed. So, and that was like nightly ritual if he was the drill sergeant putting us to sleep. It was fun. I had a good time doing it because it was just, people would be like, why do you do that, Watson? I'm like, because it's fun, and I'm making my own memories and having a good time at basic training, and I'm making it it's more annoying to him at this point than it is to me.
Correct.
So I'm holding him I might have to do these 25 push-ups, but I'm holding him hostage by doing them.
Yep. So I do have one more that was similar to
Oh
that,
yeah, go ahead.
where he was whistling when we were cleaning our weapons or doing something. We were all in the classroom doing something silly. I don't remember what it was. The classroom times are the most boring times.
Yes.
We were doing something in the classroom, and he started whistling, and it was a song that I knew. So I started whistling too, and I think there was actually a couple of us that started whistling, but he stopped whistling, and he all of a sudden realized that the whistling was still happening. And then all of a sudden, you just see his face. He's like, and then he looks at me. He's like, and I'm just like, and he just goes exactly what you said. He goes,
Yep. That the kind of power you can't buy, just being a drill sergeant. You just point, and everybody just knows exactly what they got to do. Start pushing, man. So yeah, he was funny, and another really funny thing I told this in the last story is he would get sick of me doing that to him, and like that one time we came out of defact and we were all talking, and he walks by and he goes, company, half right face, and we all and everybody, you can just hear everyone, no, and then he walks down the stairs, didn't say anything else, and you hear company, half left face, and we're back where we were. It's like he didn't smoke us, he was just scaring us. And then again, that time that I was on the CTA and I just said, hey, drill sergeant. He's like, what? And I was like, good morning, drill sergeant, or good afternoon, whatever time it was. And he just goes, I'm sick of looking at you. He goes, first platoon, about face. He goes, blame Watson for this. And we just facing the opposite direction. Everybody else is facing the drill sergeant, saying we're looking down the road towards the trash cans uh, because I just love talking to him. I just be like, hey, drill sergeant, good morning.